Hiya guys, it's Ty and welcome to the Lands Between. This time around you play as a Reddit mod in search of a Elden Ring. Hang on, that can't be right. Made by the guy who gave a generation trust issues and PTSD. Now be careful, the game does give you some rage issues, but that tends to get cancelled out by the crippling addiction you'll have playing this game. Look guys, I know the lore in FromSoft games is pretty cool, but I tell you what's cooler. Not actually giving a shit about the lore and killing God for no other reason other than it's a thing in your way. Now that's a goddamn vibe.
It's too big.
People say this is a hard adventure game, but I see it more as a love story. Like every relationship, you start single and ready to mingle until boy meets girl, boy and girl get together. Aww. Girl breaks up with boy. Then boy goes and gets a couple of fingers from a stranger in a dark alley. Or is that just me? Irrelevant, because your only companion on this adventure is your trusty steed Torrent, who will stay with you through thick and thin until there's conflict, then he hard bails. So follow this Tarnished as he endures this hellish landscape, rises to every challenge and boss, just to decide to watch it all burn down anyway. Because if anyone can be the chosen Tarnished, who's to say it can't be the bad guy? Elden Ring, was it really that good? Well, yes. Oh man, I am super excited to make a video on Elden Ring. Being
redacted,
years old, and using video games as a surrogate father for most of my life. I've played so many video games, and very few in recent years have given me this addictive feeling this game has. I mean guys, can you relate? I remember playing this game at launch and literally becoming a shut-in. My family couldn't reach me, my job assumed I quit, and my goldfish most certainly died back then. But in all honesty, I didn't actually like the idea of this game when it was announced. You see, I love the Souls games, and Dark Souls 1 is one of my favorite all-time games. So when I heard the style was going to become more open world, I was a little pissed. I thought it couldn't work, it would be boring. It would be just like all the other games trying to be open world. And honestly, I'm getting kind of sick of it, especially when it comes to Souls games. How can a game be so finely crafted like the others, but I can go anywhere and do anything? Regardless, I still picked it up, and my first 10 minutes playing the game, I thought my fears had come true. I didn't like it. To begin with, every fight felt optional, and I could just run past them. But fuck, I was wrong. This is one of the few games where the open world feel actually adds to the grandeur of the title. The sense of being an explorer in this new world takes me right back to the first time I played games like Ocarina of Time, and how I just wanted to uncover every rock in Hyrule. And this game made me feel like a kid again. That's impressive. But it's probably not a good thing, because the game bends me over backwards and goes to town on me every goddamn second. This is a tough game. It's crazy to me. I remember when Breath of the Wild was announced, and I thought that game would be an open world Zelda game where you discover temples and explore Hyrule, and it will be absolutely amazing. And don't get me wrong, it's absolutely amazing. But I was slightly disappointed with the lack of like full temples in that game. I always thought that if they just cut out like 5 or 6 shrines, mashed them together, they could make like a temple to explore. Elden Ring unironically gives me that sense of wonder and exploration that I always wanted from a Zelda title. So this might be a stupid take, but this feels like a hard mode Zelda game to me. I never thought I would do a video on a game like this because my D-tiered, trashy content just would not do this game justice. But with the DLC dropping in a couple of weeks, I think it's worth the risk of sullying the game's reputation with a Guyinthetie video. But a disclaimer, this won't be like a deep lore breakdown. I probably will barely touch the story because my brain is far too smooth for that shit. If you want to know more about the story and actually watch some decent content, check out VatiVidya, the man knows his stuff, as I don't really know what's going on in this game, and the brain scarlet rot is so bad that I actually keep referring to this guy as Garfield thanks to Maxor's video. So the video will be slightly different. I won't be brushing over the story like in my previous projects. It's going to be more of like a follow me on my journey, and we'll just talk through what happens as and when. So follow my journey through the Lands Between, and let's see if this game is all it's cracked up to be. It is, by the way. Alright, so we boot up the game and get instantly flashbanged. But it's fine, because while my retinas repair themselves, the soundtrack goes so damn hard. And now something else is hard. Next step is creating our tarnished soul, and nothing screams tarnished more than being a Reddit mod.
Milady.
I decided this playthrough I'm gonna go pretty vanilla. I love a dex build in the Souls games, so that's what I'm going for. And I'm gonna run the samurai gear and the health medallion so I don't get my ass whipped as bad as I probably should.
Oh, you're tarnished. You're dead.
Someone make that into a shirt. I would buy the shit out of that shirt. We also get a bit of information on some key players in the game, like an OnlyFans model and the Dung Eater.
A loathsome dung eater. Yummy.
God, this really is Reddit. But we wake up and we have the goal of becoming the Elden Lord. This sounded like someone who runs a nursing home. We head off to acquire this title. Hopefully it doesn't take 100+ hours. Hey guys, Ty here. God, this game looks so fucking good. I know FromSoftware games always have a sense of pride with their graphics, but holy shit, they have gone next level with this. After taking in the sights, we decide to drop our shield. I don't want to use it as a crutch on this playthrough. And unfortunately by doing this, I have just artificially stretched out my game time to 200+ hours. I'm not looking to prove anything here, I just wanted to learn boss movesets a bit more thoroughly, and knowing that one hit can most likely send me back to the last piece of grace I sat at, I thought it would be a great way to do it. And I heavily relied on a shield in my last playthrough. So it should be fun, just not very good for my anxiety levels. And we meet our first enemy. And I'm already dead. Maybe I needed that shield. No, you're pretty much guaranteed to lose this fight. The game actually begins now and we have a tutorial hole. I don't think this place gets as much praise as it deserves. This takes about 5 minutes to run through and it will literally teach you everything you need to know to start off Elden Ring. It's actually pretty impressive. They even give you a baby's first boss to make you feel like this game isn't going to be too hard, as long as you're not a game journalist. Because those guys apparently can't even beat the NPCs. We head through the tutorial and we're finally outside, which is something you're not going to be doing much while you're playing this game. And then we are greeted by white people. This totally not serial killer tells us we have no bitches and we need to set out and get some booty. Honestly, sounding a lot like my stepbrother when I left high school. He gives us some advice and tells us to head to Stormvale Castle. As we make treks, we see this brick house on a horse that probably actually has a body count on par with fucking Malenia. Honestly, this guy checks the privilege of every player, thinking this game isn't so bad right out of the gate. But me being an intellectual cheats the system. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I have no pride here. I will do whatever it takes to win these fights. Now the problem is I have a few souls, blood echoes, runes, but no way to level up. That's where our creepy stalker Melina comes in, whose eyeshadow game is weak as fuck.
I offer you an accord.
Hun, you need to watch a YouTube tutorial or something, Jesus. She tells us in order to become Elden Lord, we have to kill every lord, demigod, and actual god in existence. And if we do that, she'll let us hold her hand. Worth. Now with our own Finger Maiden, we can level up and gain the ability to ride Torrent, who is just the goddamn best character in the game. Look at this boy. He is so loyal. Even if you decide to watch it all burn down and eradicate all existence in the lands between, he doesn't care. He just wants the occasional raisin. Such a good boy. On our way to Stormvale, we meet this woman who has a pretty weird kink. And after talking about wanting all her limbs cut off and being attached to some guy as a grafted, she gives us a jellyfish. This game is so fucking random. This is a summon, so we head back to where I outplayed the Tree Sentinel and we meet Rennala.
I am the witch Rennala.
Honestly, it's kind of weird to see her with clothes on. She gives us the ability to summon stands to help us fight. It's pretty OP. And after using my newfound pet wolves to siege a castle, we meet our first wall, Margot. Margot is what I would say is the actual first boss of this game. And by boss, I mean like actual Mafia boss, because this guy will break your knees to dust. He is essentially a turnaround sign, as you won't be defeating him early on, Though he is slow to start with, he does have quite a few moves that close the gap, and fuck this whip move, man, that he does with his cane. I generally don't understand the timing of this. It hits me every goddamn time. After getting clapped by him a few dozen times, I decided to take the hint and backtrack. If north isn't working, I'm gonna head south. It's here where we meet a monkey called Bok. Bok is a cool guy. He's like Pinocchio. He just wants to be a real boy. And like all of us, once he achieves this, he then yearns for death. We continue south to Castle Morn, but before that we stumble upon a town infested by rabid rats, I guess. Their eyes are pretty sweet though. I like the look. I think I could probably pull it off. After cleansing that town, we stumble upon my favorite kind of woman, one that can't see how unattractive I am. She asks us to deliver a letter to her father at Castle Morn. After cow-tipping the guard to the castle, we head in, and there's a full-on siege happening. This is what I like to call a micro-dungeon. They're not as big as the main areas like Stormvale Castle, but they're neat little sections. If you squint your eyes just enough, you'll feel like you're in the Undead Burg. After heading through the castle and avoiding the jellyfish? What is with this game and jellyfish? We head through the fog gate and we are now fighting the Misbegotten. And I must have misbegotten how to play because he goes to town on my tarnished booty. This boss fight isn't supposed to be too difficult if you don't get hit. He's very squishy, but when he does this KO Ken attack, I generally do not understand his moveset and I just run away. He gets into a combo, you are fucked. But thanks to many retries and rocking bleed damage, I'm gonna warn you guys, I rely so heavily on bleed in this playthrough. And we win the fight. Alright, with the shame of Margot whooping my ass completely washed away, I decide to keep this win streak going, and on the way back to Stormvale, I go to this jail. Jail? The place with the penis worms, and have another pretty tough fight against the Bloodhound. Now this is a really fun fight. This guy moves like he has no skeletal structure whatsoever, but yeah, these sort of fights are my favorite. No gimmicks, no crazy OP one-hit moves. Just one-to-one fights in an enclosed arena. The only way you're winning these is learning the moveset, outplaying your opponent. And honestly, once you start dodging these attacks effortlessly, after like 40 deaths by the way, that's where the game clicks. This is why you play a FromSoftware game. You feel like you're actually overcoming an obstacle. You're improving against a boss. And honestly, that feeling I've never had in other games. And I generally think that's the main reason people come to these games. Whereas the Misbegotten was a sigh of relief after defeating the boss. Here, beating the Bloodhound kind of made me sad because it was such fun learning the process. And the reward for defeating him is actually just his sword that he used to bitch slap you multiple times, and it is as strong as it felt when it was going between your ass cheeks. Now don't worry, I'm only using this up until Stormvale. Before you go in the comments saying, oh, he's using the OP blood, like, it doesn't matter, guys. I have an idea of what I want to use later on, but I can't get to it really until after getting through the castle. So I'm going to use the Bloodhound sword until we defeat Godrick. You might notice when you see a bunch of ghosts from other characters, 9 times out of 10, they're probably using this sword, especially early on, but you could very easily upgrade this and use this weapon up until endgame. Anyway, with my newfound experience, my level ups, and this beefy ass sword, it's time to take on Margot once more. And I'm sure it'll be super difficult and it might take many tries, and oh, I won? That's a good thing he's got vertigo. I don't know what happened here. Huh. Welcome to Stormvale Castle, everyone. Unlike Castle Morn, this feels like an actual castle. Exploring this thing feels like a game itself. Now you have 2 options. There is a back channel into the castle that's, I guess, safer according to this Asmongold looking motherfucker. But like most of his takes, I don't agree and decide to go through the front door and... This might have been a mistake. I love Stormvale Castle. Exploring this place is so much fun, jumping from rooftop to rooftop, feeling like every section of the area could be explored. It's all I wanted from Anor Londo back in Dark Souls 1. It feels like an actual living, breathing place. At least for the next 10 minutes. We head through the castle and we deal with another one of these weird spider creatures. At least I managed to defeat this one this time. Now, like I said, I went through the front gate. It's a bit more of a straightforward shot to the boss, though you just have to avoid a lot of bullshit. But but you can then just backtrack back into the castle and explore the stuff that you missed. At the end of the castle is Godrick, our first demigod, and he's a bit handsy. Thank you. Remember to subscribe. And don't let his look fool you though, because the one with the handicap here is me. His first phase isn't actually that bad. He's very slow to move, and when it comes to his attacks, he's very easy to predict. Though I could be just saying that because of my sword, it seems to stagger him pretty easily and does a fair bit of damage. But like I said, this is phase 1, so there must be a phase 2. Sir, you're supposed to do that to me. Now this is where things heat up. From this point forward, I'd recommend trying to close the gap as much as possible and go for his cankles. His fire attacks could be a bit of a bitch to avoid, but as long as you're close to him and get out whenever he does like an AoE attack, you should be pretty fine. Again, like I said, could be the sword, but I made short work of this guy. I took him down in my first attempt. And that's our first demigod defeated, out of 8. And this script is already far bigger than any other videos. Oh shit, this is a big one. I might have to speed up the process here. With Godrick dead, we now have access to his ring by the 2 fingers. Using these grants you a bunch of bonuses and stat buffs till, well, you die. If you use a rune arc, make sure you use these. I was way too conservative with mine, and by the end of the game, I had 30 plus rune arcs, so use these when you see fit. Godrick's, I think, is the best one, because it just gives you a bunch of stat buffs. But there's one for pretty much every demigod. Ad time. Hey you're fit? It's mid. No way you can post that build on the Fashion Souls subreddit. I mean, look at you. Aren't you tired of being maidenless? Well, lucky for you, I have the perfect attire to make you look fire in no time. Introducing Shit Shirt Club. Why settle for one color when you can just have them all? I mean, just look at this guy. He sure does look cool. No, seriously, I unironically love myself a shit shirt. And to prove it, I'm not actually sponsored or anything. I just love a bit of a shit shirt. I tend to rock stuff like this quite often when it's sunny and hot. The brand even supports mental health with every purchase. I mean, look at this guy. Now, he doesn't look like he's suffering with mental health issues. They currently have a huge sale on right now, so go check it out. And as an added bonus, if you post yourself in the new fit on the socials like TikTok or Instagram and get a few likes and tag in the brand, you can get yourself another shirt for free. That's like buying one, but not. And who knows, maybe if they get enough love from this video alone, they might make a shit shirt that just has a bunch of random ties on it. That would be pretty cool. They also have shorts and suit jackets for that very special occasion. So use the link on the screen or check the description now to go get yourself a shit shirt today. Ad time endeth. Alright, so we're finally out of Stormveil Castle and welcome to Malenia? Dude, I'm so bad with these names. A beautiful swampland when there isn't fog. I can't see shit. After feeding this blind girl some eyeballs, just for the lols I guess, and ignoring this tectone looking motherfucker,
fuck would I get banned for this? Like what? What's the problem?
I proceed to go farm in this one specific area for an entire hour. Killing these skeletons over and over, god damn, is driving me nuts. I'm doing this to acquire my favorite weapon in the game. It has a 2% drop rate, but it feels like 0.2%, honestly. Seeing this human bone shard notification honestly makes me so angry. Like, I cannot describe how pissed off this is to me. So what am I looking for? When it comes to Souls games, I always like to go for a scythe. I generally think it's one of the coolest weapons you can have in any game. It just looks dope. And it's so weird that a farming tool that was used to like harvest wheat is such a sick killing tool. There's a reason why the Grim Reaper rocks this shit. It doesn't scale too well with Dex at the beginning, but it will grow into it. I use this for the rest of the game. With a new weapon in tow, we head to the academy to defeat the next demigod, but we need a key, and it's conveniently placed next to this big fuck you ice dragon. Oh yeah, George R.R. Martin helped write this game. Thankfully, we can use Torrent to defeat him, so it's not much of a challenge, and we head to Hogwarts. And again, man, this game looks so good. And I know I said Hogwarts, but unlike my cozy British wizard school, this one is obviously in America because between the dead students and the school shootings, I'm about to give up, man. But if you can't beat them, join them, so I guess I'll turn this game into a first-person shooter. Traversing through the academy, we get to our midway boss, and oh yay, I love Sif the Great Grey. You know what the Sif boss fight needed? Bullshit magic. Like, this guy must be a guide dog because he is guiding me directly to my grave. Again, with Bleed, taking out large chunks of his squishy health bar isn't too difficult. It's really just when he decides to use his magic, but just make sure you've got the timing down. Dodging this stuff isn't too bad. And it's a pretty easy boss fight. After phasing through some balls, we head to our next demigod, but not before touching this teleporter and meeting the Turtle Pope. This is in the game. This is not a mod. It's just so random, man. All right, Rennala. Her first phase is pretty easy. You just have to kill her children. Good thing I coated my scythe in Cocoa Melon. We have bought 3 glowy kids, and this makes Rennala fall over, so we can go to town on her. The only obstacle in this first phase is really your moral compass and Wingardium Leviosa. She is very quick to kill. Like a YouTuber over the age of 20, she's washed. But her phase 2, Rennala the Witch decides to reactivate her power level. The phase is essentially turn-based RPG rules now, because you spend most of your time waiting for your turn to attack. Oh, and don't worry, in case you were unsure if you were going to get to kill children again, if you lose at this phase, you have to run through the daycare again. It isn't so bad though. Her only real bullshit move would be the Kamehameha, as it just seems more RNG than anything if it hits you or not. Alright, we've defeated her, kind of. She's just kind of chilling here now. We can use her to respec our character if we want, if we have some of these tiers. But I've got a bone to pick with Rennala the Witch, so let's go talk to her next. Our next stop on our kill trip will be Volcano Manor, where someone like me who has an irrational fear of spiders now has a rational fear of cis white fingers. Like, Jesus Christ, these things are so I hate it so much. Miyazaki, you will receive my anus in the mail, as you seem to like to dunk on it so much. Despite the copy and paste button going ham in this area, there's so many of these guys. It's pretty straightforward. Once we travel through, we get a bodiless horseman whose main gimmick is avoiding the damn chairs. The amount of times I got stuck on these chairs is fucking ridiculous. If you struggled with Rennala, you now get to fight her again, but this time she's on Heelys. Because this guy moves around so much and shoots so much magic, and he's also a fucking Quincy apparently. Again, my only advice really is just to dodge the magic attacks, and when he comes in to do a physical hit with his long stick, that's when you wail on him. With the Royal Knight defeated, we now have to deal with another dragon, my brother in Christ. Can I just have a Kit Kat because I need a break? Oh, thanks. We finally get to meet Rennala again. She chooses to avoid talking about the whole second phase stuff with Rennala, but asks us to work with her pet Yorkshire Terrier to go to essentially Blackreach to do something? I don't know. I only know this much because the game actually won't let me physically leave until I at least absorb some of the lore. I wonder if this is like trying to leave Vatty's home when he's discussing FromSoft games. Just an invisible wall. Alright, so we need to head down to Sophia River. And to do this, we have to take a random elevator in Limgrave. I would be doing a disservice if I didn't take a moment to talk about this area. Most, like me, on their first playthrough will stumble upon this, well, second game, randomly through just exploring the first area. It's such a good feeling. This game knows how to reward you when you're just looking under rocks. Again, it's that feeling of exploration that like games like Breath of the Wild do great, but it's just turned up to like 1,000. I mean, while we're here, we might as well fuck with the wildlife. So we light a few fires and we take on these wildebeest ghosts. Fuck these guys, man. They are 100% using aimbots. Like, how are they hitting me? The torches that we lit allows us to meet a giant deer, which of course we kill. Peter's gonna be pissed. I'm gonna be honest, this is a boring boss fight for me. The spirit has far too many moves where it just keeps it off the field and it just becomes a waiting game. And they make you do this fight again later on and it can heal itself. It's dumb. Look, I know all the bosses can't be amazing fights, but come on, man. After dealing with that, I honestly cannot remember why we came down here, so I guess we'll head to Caelid to fight our next demigod, Rahdan. And luckily enough, they are holding a festival to do just that. We just have to get there. Caelid is a place you would assume is the end game. This place sucks, and it's the third area out of like 20. There are hordes of enemies, giant dogs, giant birds. There's just a lot to deal with here. And while exploring, I accidentally provoked a boss fight against Only Plays frontman Chris O'Neill.
Let's do it!
Honestly, not too much of a bad fight because we can use Torrent, which will make any boss fight an absolute joke, and he takes way too long to do his attacks. He does summon a team to fight with him, but again, with Torrent, you can just run around them. Honestly, I thought the Irish were better at fighting than this. I then proceed to scam 50k runes from beating up a crippled dragon. And I then decided to acquire my favorite weapon art. And to do this, we have to defeat one of these Sauron Black Rider looking guys. This is completely optional and was actually the hardest fight I have done so far. I might be a little underleveled for this. Again, I keep bringing up the Zelda references, and I'm sorry if no one gives a shit about it, but this is kind of what I wanted with the horse fighting in Twilight Princess. Anyone else getting that? This is pretty cool, right? It's a shame I'm getting destroyed. This fight took me so long. The only reason I was able to win this was a combination of bleed and poison. Once I eventually got him poisoned, I kind of just coasted him. I'm not gonna lie. It's cheap, I know. You guys are gonna be so mean in the comments. But I just wanted to get the flash step. And my god, this is such a good weapon up. The Bloodhound flash step is just a superior dodge. Yes, it still uses up your stam and AP, but my god, does it save my ass going forward. But it won't be too useful straight away because joining the festival to beat the shit out of Rahdan is pretty much completely torrent based, so I don't get to use it. And Rahdan hits like a fucking truck. I can't even get to the first summon. This is a unique boss fight. It's quite gimmicky. So you can summon your own personal army to help you fight, which of course I did because I have no shame. I've told you this. And once you finally can get up close to fight him, it's pretty smooth sailing. You can just kind of do a few hits, back off to regain your stam, and your little army will do the rest for you. He'll be pretty distracted. You shouldn't be taking too many hits until he just leaves. So guys, did we win? Look, I can get that he can ride his tiny little horse by using a gravity spell, whatever. But how in the Caelid does he set the thing for liftoff and kamikaze it directly into my asshole? This move is pretty ridiculous, but if you can survive it or dodge it, it then becomes the standard fight again, so it's not too difficult. Honestly, the hardest part for me was just getting close to him. So by killing Rahdan, this breaks a spell he had, which was holding back the entirety of space. What? Why? Maybe I need to do my own Guyinthetie binge. Anyway, this brings the stars back to the lands between. A little bit too enthusiastically, if I might add. That was pretty cool. We should go check that out. Jesus Christ, there is a whole world down here. Alright, so Nokrom. This place has two of my favorite things. Strange goo and half-naked women. After doing some more rooftop runs, we get to the boss. And the boss is me. I'm the boss, baby. I've always liked this gimmick. I'm gonna be completely honest. It being you is so cool. Like, just look at him. Hey guys, it's your boy Ty here. Oh god, he's so cringe. This boss will mimic your entire build for the fight, which means I'm gonna have a very bad time with bleed and poison. Like I said, I absolutely love this fight. It reminds me of the water temple in, I'm so sorry guys, Ocarina of Time. I keep saying it, I'm sorry. But you fight Darkling just without the bullshit sword stand attack. Like, how was that even possible back then? What? But it's a cool concept, and if you want to be super cheap for this fight, you can just go in without any equipment on. He will copy whatever you walk through the fog gate with. So you can take his threat level from like the bathroom mirror to a bathroom miner. Jeez, why do I write shit like this? Defeating this boss and heading further into Nokrom actually gives you a summon for the Mimic itself, which essentially is the easier difficulty that all the game journalists yearn for. It's a shame they still had to play half the game first to get to this point. Just like the boss fight, this will summon a direct copy of your build to help you fight. The community do not like you using this for boss fights. We acquire the kitchen knife of Nokrom and we head back on track with the main plot, as I forgot what I was doing down here, to be perfectly honest. Our next stop is past the academy and heading to the plateau. Say it with me, kids, this place looks so goddamn good. I know I keep saying it, but you have to give it major props. There are so many different aesthetics, color palettes going on here, different architecture. Like, are the devs okay? I don't think they are. Whenever I feel like I'm making a dent into the game, they just give you an extra piece of the map and you realize that you're pretty much still in the tutorial. So the plateau will lead us directly up to the capital where the big tree is, and I assume that's where we acquire the Elder's Ring. Though first we will traverse the Lost Woods and fight these giant tentacle monsters. Ah yes, instant death. And though they look cool, they are absolutely garbage. I hate their stupid debuff. But when we're not fighting lanky ass assholes, we're walking Grandad back to the nursing homes. This takes far too long. Following this guy to one of the caves that he's going to show us literally takes like 20 minutes. Even the messages started to get very passive aggressive. All right, I need to cut forward. This might take a while. You can also find yourself at the Windmill Village, where I assume this is what society would be like without any men. Also, watch out for the dancing inflatable tube man. This boss kind of just walks into the game and shows me what I assumed sex was when I was in the 3rd grade. With his attack pattern, just always assume you're gonna get hit, because his reach is ridiculous. You could be all the way back in Limgrave and you're still gonna get clapped by this guy. Okay, this video is getting far too long. Let's get to the capital. Ah, it's guarded. Shit. I don't suppose there's a small enclosed space here anywhere, right? Hey guys, Ty here and welcome to Anor Londo 2.0. This time with about 2000% more content. And we make our way down the city streets and screw these crossbow guys, man. And the dogs. Well, actually the dogs are fine. They're just probably a bit too big for the city.
Father, help!
We try to storm the front gate, but this time we can't do that. We have to get a little bit more creative because it's locked. Using the dead body of a dragon, honestly, this city must smell absolutely terrible. We make it up to the first boss in the capital, the ghost of Godfrey, or a memory of Godfrey. I'm not too sure, and honestly don't spend too much time thinking about it because he's already dead. This guy is definitely a pussy, and I'm sure I won't be seeing him again anytime soon. Alright, we're finally here. End game, boys. We're at the base of the Erdtree, and
Thy kind are all of a piece.
Margaret, how are you not dead? Oh, your name's Margot. So what are you, like a brother? The same person? A Smurf account? His boss fight is pretty much the same as the Stormveil one, but this time he makes poopy on the floor and has a pretty dope Call of Duty skin on his sword. Now you're gonna hate me again in the comment section, but you can actually summon Best Girl Malenia for this fight, and I in fact did this for lore reasons, not because I'm a basic bitch and needed to get good. But honestly, it's a great fight, and with Margot dead, we have now become Elden Lord, right?
You didn't say the magic word.
Wow, this was the biggest cock block in history. Malenia tells us, lol, JK, you need to go up to this icy mountain to light a big fire before you can take on the Elden Lord and become the Elden Lord. Malenia, if I had to do that first, why the fuck did you bring me here anyway? Screw this, I'm going to the sewers where I belong. Finally, I'm where I belong, with the rats and the pee-pee poo-poo man. So we journey through the sewers, and this place is actually its own little dungeon. It's probably about the same size as the capital above. Just getting through here is pure RNG because you can get lost so easy. It's here where I accidentally stumble upon Mohg, the Omen. He is damn near impossible to beat. Holy shit. His reach with all of his blood arts is mental. If you even try to even get close to him, he does his crimson shower, which is disgusting yet refreshing. And it's just bleed everywhere. So much bleed. Is this what I've been doing to people? I am a monster. Ironically, this Lord of Blood is actually a little squeamish himself, as you can knock him down pretty well with your own bleed damage, which honestly is pretty stupid. Honestly, like next to Scarlet Rot, bleed is like the best status ailment. After many tries, we actually defeat him. But I'm just gonna warn you, that was just a taste of what's to come. We find a hidden passage and we carefully continue down the sewers. Until we find this big ass door. Melena's getting a little bit anxious about it.
Please, seek not the frenzied flame. As one who strives to become a lord, deny not the lives, the new births of this world. Those who would are not fit to be called lord. When the land they preside over...
She gives a classic woman ultimatum. Can I say that? It's her or him. And I'm gonna be completely honest. Why do I need a finger maiden if I can just go and get fingered?
What are you doing, step bro?
We do this and Melina is not very happy about it.
You have inherited the frenzied flame. A pity. You are no longer fit. I will kill you. As sure as night follows day.
A little bit drastic, but then she just leaves. For the rest of the game. Well, even though she's gone, I guess we could follow Melina's advice and head to the mountain. Or we could go to the funny lava castle. So Melina is treating us like the bad guy, so we might as well remove the other competition on the board. Hey guys, it's Ty here and welcome to hell. It's just how I imagined it. Death, lava, politics, cis white males, and erected penises. So it's basically Downing Street. We head through what I assume is a cum factory. Honestly, why do they bleed white? And we get our midway boss here, the dancing inflatable two-mem's brother, Boogie2988. But this time he is trading his right to bear arms to his right to bear London bin knives. This fight is super frustrating, as I find his moves far less choreographed than the paleo diet version. And let's not even begin to discuss his sonic spin dash at phase 2. This room is far too small for this bullshit. The music though, pardon the pun, is pretty fire. It's crazy, I haven't really mentioned too much on the music in this game, but the soundtrack is so good. It's so good in fact that I will play it to my first unborn child. I can't wait to see this little guy dodge rolling his way to primary school. With the fat guy defeated, we continue through the manor until the devs decided it's about time they had a break and just make a teleport to the next boss. Honestly, I would usually say this is lazy, but man, these guys definitely need to take a 5 or something. Alright, the fight against Rykard. This fight is probably the most balanced one in the game because despite how you've raised your tarnish, what stats you've used, what weapons you've picked, you have to use a specific giving to you weapon in this boss fight because the usual methods, well, they ain't the one, chief. Not gonna lie, I feel kind of fucked without my bleed and poison crutch. It's a pretty amazing spectacle fight, especially for the first couple of times, but after you've died a few dozen, it kind of starts to get annoying, especially if you keep dying to this one move where he summons the souls of the damned. And can you dodge this? I don't think you can actually dodge this move. It's like trying to avoid taxes. The HMRC always fucking gets you. In the end, I just used the dash attack as much as possible because that seemed to do a decent bit of damage. And then whenever he went to do this bullshit Megalovania move, I used a charge slash because it seems to stagger Rykard every time you do it. So I just spammed this to avoid him doing the move, and I killed him before he could pull it off. I generally think that's how you do it. It just becomes impossible when he summons the funny haha skeletons. Alright, with another demigod notch in my scythe, well I guess not my scythe, didn't get to use it this time, I guess we should head up to the snow mountain. And again, this place looks good. I'm gonna stop saying it. It looks fucking good. And the cold air is doing wonders for my hideous burns. I appreciate what the fingers did for me, but I didn't need the hickeys. Continuing up the mountain, we get the most overused PvP weapon, the Rivers of Blood. Not gonna lie, I also used this pretty much non-stop at launch when it was even more overpowered than it is still today. Its sword art is pretty much a win button. Alright, enough getting distracted. This video is way too long. Let's go light the fire and become Elden Lord. And is that a ginger Bigfoot? The Fire Giant is unique as his second phase is actually easier than the first. The first phase, you should just really be chewing at his ankles until he decides to do it himself. Honestly, he'll just sit there and try and hit you sometimes and then roll away. It's kind of a weird fight, to be honest. This doesn't feel like it should be here. Anyway, with him defeated, we climb the cauldron and... Man, I should really not try to get cinematic shots in this game. I'd just like to point out I have now died more times to the cauldron than I did the fire giant. Once we make it to the top, we unfortunately do not have a witch to burn at the stake because Malenia hard dipped. So I guess we'll just have to do it ourselves.
Krakatoa!
This is the good ending, right? Somehow, I literally have no idea how, we are transported to where Miyazaki has been hiding George R.R. Martin the entire game. Welcome to Azula. Well, you see, we're planning on burning the entire world to the ground. The issue is, no one can die. Let's change that. It's here where we sought after destined death. The big bad is hold on to this at the end of the dungeon, but before we head there, we have the duo to compete with. But before we deal with that, we have a fucking dragon. Jesus Christ. This game is getting tough. This is where I really feel the issue of using the Grave Scythe, because I just seem to never be able to hit this guy. Like, I just keep whiffing every hit. After defeating the dragon and going through the dungeon a little bit further, we get to the duo that everyone always talks about when they discuss how hard this game is. And it's the two Godskin guys together in a fight. My god, Miyazaki, why do you keep doing this? If there's one thing this guy loves more than terrible swamp levels, it's doing these multi-boss fights. He must have felt like he hit gold with the Orestein and Smo fight, because he does it every chance he gets now. And the best part about this one is when you defeat one of the guys, the other one will just mercy res him, so you have to deal with both of them anyway. Like, they just want to make sure you have a bad time. My only advice here is to try and separate them as much as possible and abuse the pillars, man. The pillars are a lifesaver. Even once they're broken down, they can still be used to protect you from the Sonic Spin Dash. Other than that though, it's just their boss fights mashed together. Enjoy. It took me a good while to defeat these guys. Alright, with one of the hardest boss fights dealt with, we now have to do a Gmod death run through the rest of Azula. To get to this cool guy who's hoarding all the death to himself, Malakath. This was the hardest fight in the entire game, which is ironic as this guy covets destined death and refuses to share it with anyone but me. Like, no joke, I had a much harder time with this pitbull than I did the Godskin duo, the final boss and bosses, Mohg. Hot take, but I even had a harder time dealing with Makalith than I did Malenia. Now, all those bosses are very difficult, but it took me over 2 hours to defeat this guy. And the other ones that I just mentioned that were still pretty tough did not take me that long to beat. I just don't get it. Even his first phase, the attacks are too sharp, and he still absolutely destroys my health bar just by like sneezing in my general direction. And if I manage to prevail through that, he then just gets pissed off and turns into a 13-year-old Fortnite gamer because I cannot follow his movement for 1 second. 1 second he's charging up an attack on the ground, the next he's in the air doing these slashes that not only hit you like a truck, but then decay your health after the fact, and he can just cut off a portion of your health bar. Honestly, fuck this guy. Out of all the FromSoftware games, I have never got this boss. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe there's a method or a style to fight this guy that I just don't get. But it honestly feels like every time I have to do this boss fight in repeat playthroughs, it's just RNG with his moveset to why I win the goddamn fight. In my original playthrough when I first got this game, he broke me so hard that this was the first boss I decided to use some jolly cooperation by summoning some people to help me deal with him, just so I could continue the story. This guy isn't just a wall, he's the Great Fucking Wall of China. Again, other people might find this boss way easier than I did, but for me, this is like the top of the tower, the top of the mountain, the peak of FromSoftware bosses on how much they fucking want me to punch my own dick. As you can tell, I didn't like this fight. But through perseverance, some RNG with his moveset, and multiple controllers embedded into my drywall, we defeat him finally and acquire destined death. By doing this, everyone in the lands between now feels slightly more mortal. And apparently that goes double for the capital because that shit just crumbles. Like, I know I'm the bad guy here, but I swear I didn't do this. Now we should set off to the final boss rush here and become Elden Lord, but we have a couple of side areas to go check out, so I guess I can put the end of the world on hold for a hot second. So the first step on our cleanup tour is actually with a familiar face, Ver, or Varir. I don't know how to pronounce his name. His questline has us doing some invading and to mess with some players PvP style. So before we can head to the new area, we have to take on some actual human players. Unfortunately, the only guy I managed to invade was someone I assumed was farming scrubs like me, just wanting to do this side content. So after getting my ass beat a couple of times, he takes my finger and sends us to Mohg Dynasty Mausoleum, or just the blood place. I feel like if we hung out here too long, I would have many blood related diseases. And if that's not enough, fuck these birds, man. I just want to loot this area. These birds are just so aggressive. I hate it. I hate this place. We also have to deal with Ver, who just decides to invade us and try and kill us after granting us access to this place. Like, this guy is just a dick, right? But defeating his invasions does give us a pretty sweet helmet that really brings out my eyes. Thankfully, the area is pretty short, and after Ver gives us an apology and some flowers, we head up to take on Mohg once more. But this time he is at full power. Why was he crawling in the sewers like Charlie Day and Always Sunny? Who knows, man? I'm sure VatiVidya can explain it. But he's here now, and this fight is rough. It plays just like the previous fight as a first phase. His second phase, he decides to take flight, and that wouldn't be too bad. It's a little bit bullshit, but I could deal with it. But before he goes into this phase, he will do 3 undodgeable attacks that will cause bleed. So this will pretty much guarantee 3 Estus flasks dropped before going into the second phase. Great. Again, bleed weapons yourself are pretty useful against him, as it will cut down his health pretty quickly if you manage to hit him. Because once he takes flight, it is so hard to get even a little bit of damage on this guy. All I can say is just put on as much gear, talismans, use as many items as possible that will grant you bleed resistance. You get that shit on, you are golden. Now this might be an optional boss, but if you want to do the DLC that comes out in a couple of weeks, you need to do this boss fight, and apparently not many people have done it. I think it was something like 30% of players who own this game on Steam have defeated Mohg. So just a warning, if you're one of those people, you need to go do this fight before you can access the DLC. Because apparently you need to touch this hand coming out of a weird egg, which is apparently Michaela's, to access it. Alright, so with that area done, we have our last legacy dungeon to take on, the Erdtree. You have to travel through all this fog, following these barely visible light sources, which will take you to this town where you have to light a few torches to proceed to the tree. This wouldn't be so bad if it wasn't for the archer sentries that have aimbots and invisible ninjas. I guess they wouldn't be very good ninjas otherwise. Once through the town, we need to scale down the Erdtree. And there are no railings, so be careful. Also, check your corners, because you can just turn around and suddenly see a fucking boss. Speaking of bosses, the midway boss here is that Quincy Ryder again, from Renna's place. But this time he shoots 3 arrows. It's a copy and paste boss, but it does look pretty cool. Just please, bro, can we maybe calm down on the spells? This is not a PvP fight. Defeating the boss grants us access to the base of the Erdtree, and oh boy, things are going to get a bit mental. Every enemy here is perfectly placed, tactically designed to make you want to rage quit out of life IRL. There is powerful enemies around every corner. You have a bunch of those screaming spider people who just wombo combo you down at the lower end of the base. You have a dumpy ass tree that honestly has the most health in the game. Like, what? There is artillery everywhere. These stupid shrimps that hit you with like 45 cum loads at once. And don't forget about the Scarlet Rot floor. This place fucking sucks. Blighttown ain't got nothing on this. Though it does look pretty good. It's a good looking area. Honestly, after my first handful of deaths, I just kind of started speedrunning this area. But I'm not really too sure why I was in a hurry, because once we make it down to the final room of the Erdtree, she's here. The boss everyone loves to talk about. The boss that took Kai Cenat 30 hours straight and over 400 deaths to beat. Holy shit, that's bad. I'm gonna be honest, this fight is probably the best FromSoftware boss ever. Full stop. She is made so well to be punishing at any distance, so quick with her combos and her combo changes that you have to be so hyper focused to see the tells, but they are there. You can see when she does these attacks. It's not cheap. Except this one. Holy shit. If you get hit by this combo at any point, you might as well go grab a Pepsi. You are going back to the last bit of grace. Now, I've seen people on YouTube dodge this attack, and it is impressive. It looks so good. I prefer the run bitch run technique.
Run, bitch! Run!
The last dash will most likely still get to you. That's the one you need to dodge. That's how I dealt with that one move. She is also so intimidating. She will wait for you to attack her. So it's hard to get sneaky hits on her. You have to wait in between attacks. Just don't let her hit you at any point. Any damage that she does on you will heal herself. Honestly, she is a destroyer of worlds and controllers. And don't worry, you will not forget who is pounding your sweet tushy, as she will remind you every goddamn time she skill diffs you.
I am Malenia, Blade of Mikola. 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 Blade of Mikola. Blade of Mikola.
I actually struggled so hard on the first phase that I generally forgot she had a second one. Wait, are you naked? Phase 2 is much more of the same move pool. She just now does his pretty easy to dodge kamikaze attack. Now it's here where you can kind of decide if you just want to wait out and heal while she's recharging, I guess, or you can jump in and do some damage, but you will take some yourself and probably get Scarlet Rotted. The main attack I would worry about in this phase is when she does a shadow clone jutsu, where she summons a bunch of flower versions of herself to attack you. Now I've learned that you can't outrun this. Look at this distance, I still get hit. So you need to learn to dodge this move. But other than that, like I said earlier, I had a harder time with the clergyman than I did with Malenia. She only took me 1 hour, which is still quite a lot of time to dump on a boss, but yeah, I didn't find myself getting frustrated as much. Well, with her defeated, I guess it's time to go achieve the goal we were given at the start of the game. Let's go become the Elden Lord. Alright, side content's all cleared up. We have done everything we need to. We head back to the destroyed capital while doing a drive-by on Gideon. I don't know what he was doing. He is honestly the easiest boss in the game. After that, we meet the very not a ghost now, Godrick, and his Jojo Stan Serosh. This time around, he is far more intimidating. Though he is relatively slow, his attacks hit like an absolute truck, and his AoEs, man. His AoEs can be a little bit bullshit, I'm not gonna lie. But it's his second phase where he kills off his stand and just becomes a pro wrestler.
That will be all. Thou didst me good service, Serosh. Now I fight as Horaloo. Warrior!
He is now nothing but speed and power, and it is a pretty solid final boss fight. Wait, did I say final boss fight? Sorry, I meant warm up for the final boss fight. As with him defeated, we head up to the Erdtree and we can finally enter. We finally meet Rahdan, and we should really thank him, as I've been using his talisman since Caelid. Again, just like with Godrick, the thing I struggled with the most is the AoE moves. It seems like everything Rahdan does is an AoE, and God forbid you try and heal, because he will just not allow that shit. Thanks to my build, I'm able to stagger him pretty easily, and he isn't much of an issue, but it does still take me a long time to get through his health bar. I end up chucking through most of my Estus flasks. Once he's defeated, we now have to deal with a fucking eldritch beast that just decided to jump in because whatever. Sure. I do like his tiny little legs though. Honestly, it's now kind of just a war of nutrition. If you make it to this stage with enough Estus flasks, you're good to go. He's not that difficult to beat, but it's getting here with those Estuses, which I found was the challenge here. The amount of times I got so close to winning this fight, but I had no way of healing anymore. And then he pulls out this bullshit sword attack that I just never could seem to dodge. It's not that difficult, but I'm just exhausted. Again, I hate this about bosses in this game too. Just the distance I have to travel to go do some damage. You have to run a marathon. And with the Elden Beast dead, no one stands in the way of us ye tarnished. It's time to heat things up for the lands between. We allow the frenzy flame to take over. I really like this. I really hope they add in like a cosmetic for the Frenzy Flame in the DLC, because this looks so good. And as we set off to destroy the world, I guess, Malenia turns up just to clarify that she is pissed. And like the stalker she was at the start, she is gonna follow us and eventually try and kill us.
To deliver you what is yours. Destined death.
And that's the base game of Elden Ring. Dear Lord, what a game. And I doubt any of you are still here because this is a long ass video. But man, I'm just proud I managed to finish the project. Elden Ring was such a massive gamble by Miyazaki, and I'm gonna be honest, it paid out in full. As I mentioned at the start of the video, not many games have given me this sort of experience and addiction. It feels like Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3 all rolled into one single game. It just keeps going, and I love it from start to finish. There is no part of this game where it starts to drag or makes you want to rush and get to the credits as soon as possible. It's just the same overall experience from beginning to end, and that might sound like a criticism, but when the baseline experience is so goddamn good, it's nothing but a compliment. I was so into this game that I actually 100%ed it when it first dropped, which is not something I ever do. I am not an achievement seeker here, but I loved it that much. And considering that up until its official launch, I was dreading Elden Ring hitting shelves, I generally did not think I would enjoy it. And I was so wrong. It's pretty impressive. But we're not done yet. We still have Shadow of the Erdtree DLC dropping soon, or actually probably already out by the time this video launches because I'm just so bad at my job. But I want to cover that DLC, but this video is already a little bit too long. So I think it's best to do another video straight after this, solely focusing on the DLC. So keep an eye out for that. If you've managed to make it this far in the video, you are honestly an absolute legend. And so I can see you true ones in the comments section, please comment, "I am Malenia, Blade of Miquella," as this will help show me that you're one of the guys that made it to the end of the video, and also probably give some guys some bonus PTSD, which is always fun. Next, I'd like to give a massive shout out to my patrons, Pitstab, Ali Tato, and the Shane 209. You guys are the elders inside my ring. Wait. Right, well that's me done. I'm probably going to go dive into New Game Plus on this character, and I'll see you in the next video. Stay safe out there, guys. Tie out. Peace.